Dr. Shaji Kudiyat, leader of at various homeopathic organizations, more than 30 years of experience. Today, he's dealing the subject, understanding the science of homeopathy for fathers of medical science. He's always working for the upliftment of homeopathic system and this science. So we all came to this platform. Thank you, Dr. Shaji Kudiyat. You are the most welcome person in this our platform.
Today we are celebrating World Science Day. World Science Day was on March 1st, and there is some suggestions came to celebrate it in IFPH. So I took the challenge of explaining the science of homeopathy. As I got the grace of God or nature's chance to introduce homeopathy to Philippines, so many questions came on my way. How it works, what is a science, it is not a science, it is so many names and challenges came on my way. So my curious mind worked to find solutions, most especially my dream project of finding solution for cancer. All these combined, I was able to understand and explain so many things that help us understand homeopathy also. So today I am going to present the important topic of understanding science of homeopathy for furtherance of medical science in association with the World Science Day celebrations. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see the doctor.
So, okay. Is it readable? My full screen is readable?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will move forward. So what is wrong with the current medical science and its researches? We begin with that. Then only we need to understand what is needed to be done to improve it. In my understanding, the most important mistake happening with the current medical science and its research studies are the use of research methodologies that is used in technology development and material science-based research methodologies and principles applied to a holistic science-based medical science, where we need to consider both the dynamic and material components that constitute life in the physical body. Unfortunately, the medical science is limited its researches only in the physical body, whose biochemical nature changes with the nature of thoughts that we allow to develop in our mind. But that changes are never incorporated in laboratory-based and animal-based research studies. And that is the biggest challenge and mistake happening today. Then what are the challenges of homeopathy, scientific challenges of homeopathy? The most important challenges are understanding the science behind holistic medicine, where we consider the mind, vital force, or prana, or chi, or soul, or the energy components, and its association and interaction with the physical body, how it happens. We all know when our mind thoughts changes, or the mind nature of mental thoughts changes, our biochemistry changes. So how these thoughts were able to influence our physical plane to make such changes, how that interaction happens, that is the most important scientific perspective of this. And that should be, other than conventional or allopathic or so-called Rockefeller medicine, I rather call it like that, Rockefeller medicine. All other traditional and alternative systems of medicines are holistic in nature, where we incorporate the role of mind, vital force, and physical body together. So how that science functions, and especially how homeopathy works. We start the potentization from material ingredients and natural resources available in the universe, converting it into non-material level plane. And we believe it is functioning because we are seeing the functional capacity of homeopathy medicine. The higher the potency, the more potent and more powerful it is. So how such a transformation happens and what is functionally working and how it works? And what is the intention and purpose of science? The intention of science is to help us realize why and how things are happening. If anything happening in the universe is really happening, including the functional ability of homeopathy, if the current science is unable to explain that, it doesn't mean that it is not happening or it is rather unscientific. It only means that the current science is inadequate, incomplete, and needed to be furthered and completed so that what is happening with such systems of medicine can be understood and explained. So, if the present science, since the present science have difficulty in explaining how homeopathy works and many other things, it is a clear indication of the need for furtherance of the present science. And the discovery of the principles I am going to share with you today, we name it as dynamic science, or I named it as dynamic science, is the byproduct of a curious, continuous inquiry made for years and conclusions made after years-long researches and studies. I named it as dynamic science. So the question is how science progress. Science always progress by questioning answers and answering questions. So it is a series of questioning and answering that happened in my mind that led to the identification or discovery of these new set of hypotheses I am going to present before. So the objectives of this presentation include how mind, vital force, and DNA are interconnected. That is the core of functional ability of holistic science, or the functioning of a living organism, and how matter and energy are interconnected, or redefining matter and cosmos, because homeopathic medicines are prepared from ingredients taken from the cosmos, particularly matter. So we need to understand or redefine what is this matter and cosmos on a new perspective to understand homeopathy. What is acting curatively in homeopathic medicines and how it works. These are the objectives expected to convey through this presentation. So I am directly going to the evolution of dynamic science or dynamic scientific approach. It is developed by the inductive logical analysis of cancer. So all this started as a process to understand how cancer develops, because my basic intent was to find a solution for cancer. So many questions came, answers found, questions again came, a series of questioning and answering happened through years of time. Finally, in 2003, a clear picture of the entire thing I am going to present to you today came to my mind, and I am proudly happy to present before you. So the first question is what is cancer is abnormal fast multiplication of cells. What or who decide the rate of multiplication of cells? It is presented by the genetic information present in the chromosomes in the nucleus of the cells. So what are these chromosomes? We have 46 chromosomes, 23 coming from the father, 23 from the mother. This is here in the picture, you can see one among that. And if we pull from one end of a chromosome, we will get a structure shown in the bottom of the picture that is called DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. It means that our chromosomes are nothing but a kilometers long DNA which coil together and compress together to form chromosomes. So the entire functional ability of a living organism, from a single cell to tissues to organs and systems and as a body as a whole, these capabilities are imprinted in these 46 chromosomes within the DNA where it is imprinted or encoded. Now, what is DNA? DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. I am presenting the present perspective so that we will be able to go beyond what is known today. On the right hand side, we can see a broad picture of Watson and Crick double helix structure in the 360-degree spiral form, which is made up of nucleotides. And nucleotides are formed from nucleic acids, deoxyribose, and phosphate molecules. The deoxyribose and phosphate molecules, the base, form the base, and the actual DNA encoding happens when 4 nucleic acids, adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine, arranged in a sequential order. The sequential arranger decides the genetic makeup. We have another name called genes, which are nothing but a segment of DNA with a unique sequential arrangement and a special spatial presentation during its activation that is capable of performing a specific function. So with this, I'm going to have the next question, that is nothing but, if the sequential arrangement of nucleic acids in the DNA and the specific spatial presentation decides its functional ability, who is determining the sequential arrangement of these nucleic acids and that spatial presentation? The answer to this question is the new hypothesis of dynamic science. And before answering the new hypothesis, I am going to bring your attention to another important thing happening in every living organism, that is death. What is the difference between a living body and dead body, or how we die, or what happens during death if we divide the death process into 3 stages: before death, during death, and after death? So in order to, if we look and study the physical body, all the functional ingredients and the organs and tissues and systems present in a living organism are totally present in the dead body in majority of cases, except when death happens during surgical intervention or accidents like that. Other than most of the time, all the functional ingredients and organs and everything present in the living body are present in the dead body. Then how the death happens, or what happens during death? In order to understand, we are conducting a study of the most important organ, brain and heart, that we believe are maintaining creation and maintenance of the living phenomena. When we study brain with EEG and the heart with ECG in a living state and dead body, we can understand that EEG and ECG are positive in the living body and negative in the dead body. This is what we do in a IC, in a high-tech hospital, where we can see, we place metal conductors in different unique positions in our body, which will be processed played in a where we watch a wave running. As long as the wave is running, that indicates the presence of an energy in the living body. As long as the wave exists, as long as the energy exists in the living body, we know that patient or person is alive. The moment this wave become a flat line, we declare the patient dead, meaning that energy left the body or stopped existing in the body. So presence and absence of this energy is playing vital role in the creation and maintenance of a living phenomena or life. And its absence make the living body a dead body. So what is energy? How can we distinguish one energy from another energy or differentiate different forms of energy? Physics says one form of energy can be differentiated from another energy by three parameters, which we name frequency, wavelength, and amplitude. Wavelength is the length of an upward and downward movement of a moving particle or a wave. Amplitude is the maximum vertical height it moves from the center position. And frequency is the number of waves produced in 1 second. So these parameters will be different in different forms of energy. That's the reason why different TV channels, different radio stations, including mobile phones, are able to broadcast their programs or call another mobile number, or radio programs are broadcasted and we tune to that frequency to get that channel. Similarly, there is energy in every living organism. Unfortunately, technology had not yet developed to measure the frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of this energy. That is true. Technology is yet to be developed to measure these parameters. But doesn't mean that the technology development may take some more time. Even though it is not yet measured today, doesn't mean that it is not existing. I met a physics scientist, the head of physics department of St. Petersburg University of Russia, Dr. Korotkov, who identified a machine to measure energy in joules. So different researches are happening in that perspective. So it is a matter of time and thinking in that direction to develop that. So let us wait for that. But this is a reality that exists. So with this much understanding, I am going to present the new hypothesis of dynamic science that connects between the DNA and the vital force or the prana or the chi or the energy that creates and maintains the living phenomenon. If you look into the two-dimensional picture of a Watson and Crick model of DNA and the energy in the waveform, we can see a similarity between them in the waveform. So with these incidentals, noticing of this similarity, I'm going to state the new hypothesis of dynamic science. The new hypothesis connects between the DNA and the vital force, and it states that the sequential arrangement of nucleic acids and its spatial orientation in the DNA is nothing but a physical proportionate expression of the frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of the vital force that creates and maintains the living phenomena in that organism. This is just a hypothesis. I cannot show you physically these things. So you have to imagine that. But if this hypothesis is right, if we can modify the frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of our vital force, there can be changes that can take place in our DNA. So there are talks about hacking humanity through modifying DNA, through mRNA, vaccines, and all these things. So if we can modify the DNA, there can be changes takes place in our vital force also. As we can, if we build a bridge, you can bear both ways. So the vital force influences the arrangement of DNA and its spatial orientation. If that orientation or the arrangement, sequential arrangement of nucleic acids can be modified, it can affect the result. Now, another question is it possible to modify the frequency of our vital? Before answering that question, I am bringing to your attention to another dynamic entity called the mind. And another hypothesis is that each thought that we allow to develop in our mind is an energy vibration with a unique frequency, wavelength, and amplitude. So when a living person, a human being, gone living, there exists minimum two energy vibrational frequencies in the same body at the same time. One is that of the vital force that creates and maintains the living phenomena. Other one is that of the thoughts that we allow to develop in our own body. And both coexist in the same body at the same time. So what happens when two energy vibrations coexist in the same medium at the same time? How the mind influences the soul or the vital force or the chi or the prana or the spirit. It can be again studied by two physics theories, theory of resonance and theory of superposition or interference. Theory of resonance can be understood by a physics lab experiment using sonometer and tuning fork. We have done it in our physics lab. During pre-med college or secondary school studies. So tuning fork is a U-shaped apparatus which has a unique frequency of vibration when it is tapped. A sonometer is a box-like apparatus where a string is tied at one end and hanging through on the other side and with a weight. And the vibrational column of a string can be changed by a triangular shaped material placed between the strings, under the strings. And we adjust the tension of the string by adding or lessening the weight and moving the distance of the vibrational column. Its frequency of vibration of the column of the string can be modified and tuned to the frequency of the tuning fork. And a pre-tuned tuning fork, a pre-tuned sonometer is brought in near to a vibrating tuning fork. The string automatically vibrates, and that is defined as a resonance. It is really very relevant. Homeopathic cure happens through resonance. And superposition happens when two vibrational frequencies simultaneously occur at the same medium at the same time. So I am going to show a video showing both these in a short video. Listen to this video or see this video, watch this video. Tuning fork and sonometer, pre-tuned. It is the column pre-tuned. And the paper rider falls due to resonance. This is superposition. When two vibrational frequencies coexist in the same medium at the same time, they superpose each other and the permanently existing vibrational frequency get proportionately modified. These things are happening in our physical body due to different thought process that we develop and maintain in our mind, and we with our vital force each and every moment of our life. And here, based on the nature of the thoughts that we allow to develop, the superposition varies and the outcome happens accordingly. So when we have naturally positive thoughts developing in our mind, like happy, comfortable nature, peaceful and naturally positive thoughts developing in our mind, that will superpose with the vital force and modify its frequency, wavelength and amplitude to a healthy, pure and stable state. resulting into a constructive DNA alteration or epigenetic change that will constructively or curatively modify the particular genes in its expressive ability. When we have negative emotions like hatred, enmity, depression, grief, jealousy, fear, anxiety, worry, insecurity, guilty feeling, anything we name it negative, such a vibrational frequency superpose with our vital force and modify its frequency, wavelength and amplitude and its spatial orientation to an unhealthy state and plane and order with the creation of a destructive mutation or epigenetic change. These we can observe clearly in every diseases, especially chronic diseases. And that is, I was able to monitor and identify these connectivity only because I became a homeopathy doctor, and I'm proud to be a homeopathy doctor. So now what are the different modes of DNA alteration or mutation possible? Number one, through the direct superposition of the vital force by the thoughts that we allow to develop within us in our own mind. That is the most important thing. Second thing is through the direct superposition of the vital force by the energy vibrations coming from outside the body. That includes man-made energy vibrations like X-rays, mobile frequencies, Wi-Fi, 5G and 6G, thoughts of others, cosmic radiations, including the application of homeopathic medicines, which is expected to produce a curative change or a constructive change when applied based on the law of stimulus. I will explain in detail. And the thoughts of others are very important because when I develop an anger or a negative emotion in my mind, that first inflict me. When I develop and release that thought of a negativity to the universe, thinking of a person or a group of people, it first inflict me. I get distracted in my vital force level, and which will destructively change my DNA. And when that thought is released, it will immediately affect the intended person or a group of people, and they superpose with their vital force and modify its frequency and try to modify their DNA also. But if that person or a group of people keep their mind in the positive, happy and comfortable plane, the positivity within them will protect them, and the external interference will not happen, and they will not be affected by the external impact. So in the future, when 5G and 6G are about to influence us for the hacking that may happen in the future, the most important thing we need to remember is turning to spirituality and increase the time of meditation to stabilize our mind, to fix ourselves and transform ourselves to more constructively and positively thinking and living individuals. Now, the third possibility is through physical plane, through biochemical reactions. Unfortunately, the third possibility is the only scientific possibility studied and applied in medicine today, totally leaving and ignoring the most important possibilities in the dynamic plane. And this is the most important challenge and the furtherance and need for furtherance in medical science and research. So these are the possibilities where homeopathy is most relevant and functioning. These are the areas when we try to understand and explain how homeopathy works will become relevant and known to the world, and that can definitely help modify the present medical science from a material or linear science to a holistic or non-linear science. And that is the most important revolution that needs medical science today to save humanity and the future of developments in medical science. Now coming to further to homeopathy, as I be told, we are preparing all our medicines from natural sources, which are material things. and how it become dynamic medicine capable of influencing the vital force which get modified to influence both on either side through the physical body and in the minds. So how we can capable of making these medicines to energy plane to influence the vital force is the question. We know that today we study atomic theory, and the atom, the concept of atom was introduced by through two Greek philosophers called Lucippus and Democritus. And they defined atom stating that atom is the finite end unit of matter which are no more divisible, cuttable, or unable to further divide. That is the end unit. But today we have a atomic theory which states atoms are made up of electron, proton, and neutron, meaning they are further dividing the atom to subatomic particles. These two don't match. So there is a controversy there. And more than that, if we take a piece of paper and break it down by burning it, we will get energies like light and heat and some other carbon dioxide and other ingredients, smoke and other things. We are not getting electrons, protons, and neutrons. We are getting energy vibrations in the form of light and heat and some other ingredients. So why? What is wrong in it? So all these indicates there is need for modification of atomic theory, and that is the time quantum theory come into consideration. In quantum theory, we consider matter as union of quanta of energy. So in dynamic science, we are redefining matter through quantum perspective and quantum theory consideration or principles, stating that an atom is nothing but an end unit of matter, where the unit is made up of vibrational frequencies of specific frequency, wavelength, and amplitude, which are spinning, stabilized in its own axis. So different elements are nothing but modifications in its frequency, wavelength, and amplitude spinning in its own axis, remaining stabilized. In solid state, these fundamental units remain heavily compressed and specifically arranged in conductors and non-conductors. And in liquid state, it is loosely compressed. In gaseous state, it is very loosely compressed. And in space, it is not at all compressed. Planets are places where we can see compressed forms of energy, solid, liquid, and gases. Stars are places where it is remaining concentrated, where these units can come out and go in any time. So with this renewed understanding of the energy, atom, and also another perspective of cosmos. See, there is a microcosm and macrocosm. When we go into the macrocosm of the universe, we can see solar system. Our Earth is part of the solar system, which is again part of Milky Way, a giant galaxy of galaxies or similar like the solar system, like galaxies existing in the Milky Way. And the entire universe is believed to be containing so many such galaxies like Milky Way, which is moving, remaining in a stable fashion because of its force of attraction and repulsion. There is a gravitational attraction existing in the entire universe, stabilizing it, moving as it is moving. And if you go to microcosm, we will be able to see the similar facts in arrangement also, is my opinion. So when we go to microcosm, quantum of energy also contains macroscopic way of arrangement in the cosmic perspective, where we can see energy compressed and surrounded by concentrated and stabilized matter atoms arranged in a solar system like a pattern. When we consider the present atom-like structure instead of nucleus, where we believe neutrons and protons are present, there may be possibly quantum of energy present, surrounded by another stabilized form of planetary-like arrangements of further concentrated and stabilized planetary form of minute form of arrangement in the microcosm. We can even call it as nanoparticles if you, in the modern scientific perspective. So when we potentize, what is happening? We are breaking the quantum breaking point of these solar systemic microcosmic arrangement and liberating the quantum of energy. And this energy, the maximum we dilute and we suckers and potentize, higher the potency, there will be maximal liberated energy present in homeopathic medicine. So potentization can be defined as a unique way of homeopathic medicine preparation with the process of continuous dilution of the medicinal substance with a vehicle through succussion and trituration, thus breaking down the compressed energy units in the substance to individual energy units or to an energy level, so that these energy units can resonate the vital force to bring back its lost purity and stability when given based on the law of symbols. So the scientificity of homeopathy. What is acting curative in homeopathic medicine is nothing but the liberated energy vibrational units which remain compressed in the material substance, in our medicinal substance, from where we initiated the process of potentization, which got liberated. Higher the potency, the higher can be the vibrational unit distribution there. Then how it works? There are side changes which we have done some study of homeopathic medicine using the energy measuring machine of Dr. Korotkov from St. Petersburg University, and identified that there is a wave-like pattern of energy up and downs as we go with higher potency. 6C has a higher potency, then the energy slightly goes down, then it increases again. We can see a wave-like pattern. And my explanation is that these microscopic quanta of solar system-like arrangements will be breaking at certain quanta of breaking point, a quantum breaking point. That will be different. As the quantum breaking point varies, as the potency increases, these quanta will release the energy and goes high. Further dilute, it will go down. Again, another quanta of breaking point happens and it increases again. It goes on like that. That may be the reason we observed such a pattern. Now, how it works? It is working. It is working when we prove homeopathic medicine. We give potentized homeopathic medicine to a healthy human being. And these vibrational unit remaining liberated in the potentized homeopathic medicine will superpose with the vital force and make a temporary alteration there. And that alteration will be expressed through its DNA changes in the physical plane and mental emotional plane accordingly. And that we monitor, and that is what we study in our Materia Medica. And we have proven so many medicines available, and now we are in practice. And we are in front of a patient, how a disease develops. Diseases are developing when we have alteration in the frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of the vital force from a healthy frequency to an unhealthy frequency. That modification will be respectively modifying the DNA and expressing its changes accordingly in the physical plane, from head to foot and in the mental emotional plane. And we do the case taking and take the totality of symptoms, which is nothing but the totality of symptoms are nothing but the functional changes in the mental, emotional, and physical plane from head to foot. That is an absolute representation of the changes that happened in the vital force plane from healthy to unhealthy. And then we compare this totality of symptoms with the different homeopathic medicines and choose a medicine that produced a similar symptomatology at the time of proving. We call it law of similes. What does it mean? It means that this medicine contains a liberated vibrational frequency similar to the altered vital frequency of the vital force of the sick individual. So when we give that medicine to the sick patient, since the liberated energy, frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of the liberated energy present in the homeopathic medicine is similar to the altered frequency, wavelength, and amplitude of the vital force of the sick person, resonation happens and the restoration of the lost frequency happens, whereby rectifying the vital force, whereby modifying the DNA on the physical plane, and giving a susceptibility for right philosophical thinking and rectification of the wrong concept and attitudes and thought development in the mental emotional plane on the other side.
Yes.
So now, take-home message of this presentation include medical science needs to be furthered. No doubt in that. From materialism to holistic science, that furtherance is very important. And homeopathy works in an energy plane. That's why the process of potentization is an important, historically important discovery of homeopathy that was neglected so far. And in the coming future, it is going to play a very important role. And holistic science should be the science of medical science, because medical science is to deal with a living organism where dynamic components are associated with the physical body. It is not merely a physical body alone. So it should be the holistic science, not the linear or material science. Very important. And homeopathy is going to become the gateway for the future furtherance of science in general and medical science in particular. And we all can be proud to be homeopaths, because our presence is very relevant for the future existence of science and medical science in particular, that are going to make a revolutionary quantum leap and scientific furtherance of the millennium, and that will be historically remembered from now onwards.
Yes.
Thank you very much.